My king. Usathuthi uma apho
Asho,
mfethu?
Chief.
Yandif? Can you hear me, boy?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I was still being enlightened by your knowledge that you were giving me.
No, you're asking critical questions there.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So basically, again, just to begin where we ended off, I think the biggest issue that comes with this whole victim thing and this whole like I'm oppressed thing is that you it makes you so short-sighted that by the time that time goes by, you get hit by your own laws, you get hit by your own, like you get hit by your own kids, your own creatures that you then have formed because you were an oppressor. I mean, because you were oppressed. So it's not that your oppression is not valid, you know. It happens with a lot of, like, again, like I made an example now with this whole 1% thing. If you're a student, you don't have a bank account, you've never had anything deposited in anything, you pretty much just live off beer and mommy and daddy, or your whole high school and varsity life. You don't know anything about that. So as soon as you see people out there trying to make things for themselves, and they're building houses and they're buying cars and they're doing all sorts of things that you feel as though that you can't do, or you wouldn't ever be able to do, it's very easy to say, oh wow, so those people there don't look any different to how I look like, and therefore the only way that they could have whatever they have is if they taken away from me. So therefore, for me to get it back, I need to now try to corrupt the whole system, right? And then that's when I start burning things. That's when I start calling out the 1%. That's when I start talking against people like Elon, for example, and bashing them and telling them, look, you have all of this stuff, and we're here. What about us? What about me? Right? And then you get resentful and angry and jealous and all sorts of things, and you start to then be envious of whatever that those people have, regardless of what it is. It could be monetary, it could be opportunity, it could be anything, right? But you fail to look at the bigger picture, because the bigger picture doesn't mean anything to you, right? It's useless. You want the picture that you want to see now, right? So you go and you create all these things, and same with this gender-based violence thing that people always talk about. Is, hey, let's kill the next man that tries to ever even try to think of touching another woman, right? And it's like, okay, you want to do that, right? Okay, cool. And then a few years later, you graduate, you get a job, you get your first salary, you go through that whole year, you get your monthly salary, you get your opportunity, you buy your car, you buy your apartment, you know, um, you get into a room with another woman, right? And then she cries rape on you, for example, right? Now, all those things that you formed when you were still back in school, now you're the oppressor for having more than someone else that's back in school now, because they don't have nothing. They were you just a year ago, just 4 years ago. And now also, you're now an oppressor for even being in a room with another female, and now you're the one that's being accused of something. But now you're going to face the same fate that you wanted other people to face when you're the victim, because now you're the oppressor. And you're not so far from being the oppressor when you think about it. That line is so thin that you can't even see it. And when you're the victim, you don't even want to see it. And then it only takes a few years or just a situational change for you then to be part of those people. And then you sit back and you say, no, no, no. Look, no, the thing is and it's like, no, you created this. This is what you wanted. Right? And you could say in the same breath, like that's pretty much almost what's happening now, to say predominantly white people and males, is that is the result of what happened back then, of men oppressing women, for example, if they did, or white people oppressing black people. And now the fact that black people are able to say all sorts of shit against white people, and females are able to say things like men are trash and men are misogynists so outrightly and without any recoil could be a result of that. But then even with saying that, it's like, what makes those people think that it can't happen again, the reverse? You know, I even made an example with like being at UCT a few years back, like the quota system, for example. I was a beneficiary of that, right? And the whole thought process was, well, look, our family was oppressed, and because our family was oppressed, that means that we then are oppressed, and therefore that means that I should get a lower marks than a white guy that is in the same year as me, even though he's not the oppressor of me. He's just part of a family that had an oppressor back in the day, right? And it's like, that's justified, you know. And it's weird because when I was in there, it's like, yeah, that sounds good. It's justified because I'm the victim, right? Because whatever the game's going on, I'm the victim, right? And then time goes by, I get a degree, I go work, cool, life works out great for me. But what about that guy that's there? He never did anything. He never oppressed anyone. He's got nothing to do with this. He's just the same age as me. You know, he had nothing. There's no reason for life to put him in that situation. Just like I can say for myself. But the difference is, and then in my state, is that there was actually a system that was created to then benefit me instead of him. Right? And then what do I see? I only notice that when, for example, gender-based violence comes into play, and now I'm part of the people that are oppressors. Now I'm a male, and every single time a female gets beat up or anything, then there's a law created that will then oppress males. And I stand up and say, hey, but I'm not part of the oppressors. And then the females say, yeah, but your group is. Then I say, but no. And then I think, shit, that's probably what Matthew was thinking. That how's he part of the oppressors when he has nothing to do with this? And that's the game that we play all the time. And then the problem with that is I am a collection of all sorts of things. I'm a male, I'm middle class, I'm from South Africa, I'm, you know, working elsewhere, privileged, whatever it is. I'm a combination of all of those. And on some of those I'm the oppressor, and some of those I'm the victim. And also, that also changes with place and time. Because I can be an oppressor today by being a male, but tomorrow I'm the victim. You see, so that's the issue of this victimhood thing, is that it helps when you see yourself that way because you benefit. It's like, yeah, okay, cool, I'm black, cool, I benefit. And then when I'm walking down the street, it's like, yeah, well, I can say white jokes, it's fine. It's like, okay, well, I'm the victim, cool, I'm gonna keep quiet. Until I walk down the street and the female says a male joke, and then I'm going to say, oh, I'm offended, change that. And they're going to say, why? Because now I'm the victim. So we kind of rank order each other based on our victim status.
I think the thing that hits a lot of people, because I can hear from how you're experiencing the state. This is how human life is. You're always in a state of flux. You will never wear one hat everywhere. You'll never wear one hat. There will be places where you are powerless, and there will be places where you have power. It's just how it works. That's how the structure is designed. Because we could look at a very wealthy black person. There will be a place where they are no longer the most powerful person.
Yes.
So we need to understand nuance, and it's a gray area. It's a gray area. Because you're black and you're male does not mean that you're a black male victim all the time. You could be very much an oppressor. You can do the wrong things. You can use your power incorrectly. Here's the problem with how we perceive power. We take it as this personal thing. It's like, I'm head now, So I don't have access to power, or power is lacking here for me, and now I'm a victim. Let me try and get power. And then when you get power, power works the same for anyone. Whoever has power tries to maintain their power. If you're a male, you would not really be looking at things that give females that much power over you. It's normal. But if you're a black male, hey, you are looking at how can you become closer to a white male because they hold more power over you in certain circumstances. And it's normal for a woman to want to have the same type of power and access to society as a man. It's just normal because all of us are trying to survive. We're trying to make the best out of all these opportunities. And there are opportunities that are denied to you because you're black and you're male. And there are opportunities that are denied to you as if you're white and you're male, or if you're black and you're female. All of us have power in certain circumstances. This is where the structure is so powerful. The structure is where we should be focusing our energies on, and not each other, because the
Yes.
structure will always repeat. It repeats what we don't learn from, and it seems human society for years we're repeating the same structures. It's the same things. The same things keep on happening to us, and we keep on wondering why. It's like, I don't know why there's so much resentment from this group and that group and these people. We use power in the same way. We oppress and we try to actually benefit those who are closest to us, those who agree with us. It's always a group dynamic. So we are animals at the end of the day. People don't like me when I say
Yeah.
that. We're
Yeah.
animals, and this is about survival. If I'm in this group of lions, I'll do the best for those group of lions. If you are in the other group, you'll do the best for that group. It's not a mistake where we have people saying Shaka Zulu was an oppressor. Because he was to certain people. He was an oppressor.
Yeah.
He did fight many wars. He was not a perfect person. He was not an angel. So was John Rose. So when we look through history, we must start to move away from this new generation. Our new generation does not understand nuance. No one is perfect. No one was the epitome. If you want a person who was perfect, fetch a Bible, fetch a Torah, fetch a religious book. That's where you'll find perfect people. But in our history, in our society, there are no such people. Mandela himself used to beat his first wife. Does that take away from who he was? Because he was able to understand that this is wrong. Let me not.
And that'll come. That'll come. It's just no one has had the time to, no one has had the time to go on it yet. But that's how it works, right? It's whatever dirt you can find on someone in the future, you can always cancel them in the future based on what they did back in the past.
Because we're robotic now. We're very robotic. We think life is a mathematical equation. It's spread throughout society. We're so used to perfection. Our photos must be perfect. Our lives must be perfect. Instagram life, we must have this perfect thing that does not exist. And this is actually replaying in our emotions. People are into positivity. Such nonsense. Positivity. You can't be positive the entire time. You're not built like that. Your brain is not built like that. You are just not that. If you want to be positive and happy the entire time, even a person on drugs, they lose the high. You are supposed to be in a balance. A balance means that there's good and there's bad. And how you deal with it, that's your problem. It's not our problem as a society. But we have a lot of people who just want this perfect picture thing like, hey, you must not do this because we don't, as a society, we don't like it.
Yeah.
How people are perfect.
Sorry, man. Keep going.
when it comes to, I think the issue of blackness or people who are black or groups that have generally not been privileged before and their mandate is to be equal. Let's say like black people, for example, they say that the mentality of what you're speaking of comes from the fact that because we didn't have in the past, it's now engraved in psychology that you don't want to share because now if you give away, it's going to be taken away and you're never going to get it back, you know? So the fact that other people or other groups are able to do that is because they didn't face the trauma apparently that people had in the fight of apartheid and getting into democracy and what that means for our people, you know?
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's exactly what he was saying now, and you said it as well, that the reason why that people can't speak and have a voice is because they are victims. Like we're all victims of everything. That's the only issue, is the fact that like black people have a voice because there was apartheid and there was slavery. Fair enough. And now white people have a voice because now they're going through exactly what some black people are putting them through. They're going through BE, they're going through this black women empowerment. And then same with females. Females were victims back in the day. So were males. Males weren't happy going to war. Males weren't happy being drafted into war, whether they didn't like it or not, and died there. You know, so they are victims too. And then what happens is now we're having a rank order of who's now who now is the biggest victim. And whoever's the biggest victim is now all of a sudden exempt from doing exactly the same thing to the people that they think oppress them. And then the issue with that is that then there'll be no one left. Because it's what I was saying now with like this whole, here's another example with this whole rape issue, right? So there was this thing of like, well, there is this thing that you can't give consent. This is the next topic actually. You can't give consent if you're drunk. Okay? It's like, okay, fair enough. That's that. Like, we can agree on that. It's like, okay. Maybe, maybe not. Then you have a whole bunch of women, right, that are coming out now talking about, oh, well, look, so I was at a party and I went out and I went home with this guy and he slept with me, right? And I was drunk that night. Shit, that means that I was raped, man. Like, I you know, it's deep, and I was raped, and I'm gonna form a little group, and I'm gonna get online and try to kind of a Me Too movement, you know, go and speak out against this, right? So what happens then after that is like, okay, well, fair enough, you're victims, and I apologize for that, right? And I hope that you do go out there and put whoever victimized you in jail, right? It's like, yeah, exactly. I'm the victim. It works. So, you know, because if I'm the victim, then I see now. I don't see the future, right? You asked this exact same woman. Okay, the person that victimized you, raped you, and touched you inappropriately while you were drunk and intoxicated, right? You agree that they should go to jail and face the ultimate sentence. Like, yes, of course we do. They raped them. Cool. Were they drunk too? It's like, well, we were out, we were at Groove, so I assume that we were all drinking and therefore they were probably drunk as well. Like, okay. So that means you also raped him. And that means you should face the same sentences that he faces. And then boom, you go offline. No. Delete, block, fuck that. And that's the problem. That's the issue. Then all of a sudden you start to change then your definition of the terms based on the fact that now you can see yourself as the oppressor. But when you're the victim, you want to slaughter anyone. Anyone that you think oppresses you, you want to slaughter. And then it only takes someone else to say to you, hey, look, yeah, he was drunk too. That means you both raped each other. And if you both raped each other, you both deserve the same sentences. What happens then? You're fucked. Right? Now, the exact same thing I was saying earlier is that As soon as you see yourself as a victim, it blinds you from everything else in the future, right? Because as soon as it blinds you from everything else in the future, then you can say, look, this works for me. This is what I want. This is what I was hoping for. So therefore, that means that then whatever I feel and I'm the victim, then it works until it doesn't. But now you created that. You were part of what had worked. You were part of that structure. And then how do you get out of that? Exact same thing with black people now. It's like, yeah, look, white people have oppressed us and this and that, and we're going to create PE, we're going to create all these movements. Okay. Until the ANC is in power, till all black people in power, until UCT and all our universities are all predominantly black. And then white people come back and they say, remember what you guys did back then? You can use that same system and come back and bite you in the ass with it. And then what?
I think I have a question. What is your take? Actually, I think I'm not really understanding where you're going with the issue or the topic of victimhood, right? I think answer that, but more than that, the topic of rape that you mentioned, I actually never thought about it that way, and it's such a deep thing. Because it goes with assault. When there's a case of assault, if I slapped you, you slapped me, and I lay a charge, you go lay a charge. It happens all the time, right? And rape is like the most, oh my God. And it's usually obviously the women that are the victims. Obviously not because, we're trying to be victims, genuinely because men are stronger and stats say they're the ones who've been raping the most. But the scenario that you just put now, it was just mind-boggling for me because I'm like, oh, okay, exactly what now? Yeah, what does this mean? Like, what points are we considering? I'm even thinking like, if a situation like that had to go to court, like what points are being considered? Considering the climate of, yes, there's GBV and women are the most vulnerable, obviously they're going to consider those things, right? And how fair will the process be based on that as well, you know? So yeah, I think I'm gonna go and think about that as well. It's a good point. But just generally, like, where do you stand with the topic of victimhood?
Is that me or him?
Well, it could be the both of you.
Yeah, you can go, boy.
Okay. Lou, you must not oversimplify certain things. I think a lot of us are failing to get into the gray area. I love the gray area. Gray area is where you are supposed to be whenever you're discussing human relations. Nothing is said. Yeah. So if we're looking at the issue of rape, rape deals with a person without consent. There's just a case right now.
Another one.
There's a case right now that people are fighting over, where the judge was like, but there was consent. You can't just revoke consent when you felt like after the act. You can't say yes, and then after you slept with the person, say no. That type of
but
question.
You can say during.
Yeah. So.
But you can say during.
And also during is also problematic. When do you say during? What is it, after the first or last penetration? All these things are always considered by a judge, because a judge has to consider so many other social things. So the example you placed, I think, was an oversimplification. It's a fair thought, but it's an oversimplification for a person who's applying the law, because they'll apply the law regardless of feelings, and even if you can be 1,000 outside protesting, they'll have to apply the law as the law is. So there's a definition for rape, there's a definition for what constitutes as consent.
Yeah.
So there are people who try to play around that issue, but the issue is usually set. And then when you're speaking about victimhood, you must be very careful in understanding that every person has a certain place where they are a victim.
Yes.
And not all people play it out the same way.
Mm.
Certain people are using their victimhood for power because that's what they want. If I knew, like, let's say for example, that there's a mine in my area and I can go there and I can use my black face there to become a millionaire, I'll do that. It makes sense. It makes sense for you to get whatever benefits you need. And there are people who are genuine victims. There are farm workers who are being oppressed because they're black people. And there are white farm workers who are also being oppressed because they're white people. Victimhood is always there. Whenever there's power, there will always be a victim, regardless of what color, race, sex the person is. Whoever holds power is the one that determines who they can oppress, who they can't oppress. There are many cases where we have guys who are unable to speak where they're being oppressed by a female colleague who has more power than them, who can demand things, who can force them to do things. And that happens to women too. It happens to white people, it happens to black people. The thing about our society is that we're so divided. The very elements and things that are used to divide us so that they can extract from us. A very small minority of people are billionaires. And a very small minority of people will ever get power, they become millionaires, and live a very lavish life. In South Africa, a majority of us will be in the lower middle class. And it's just how it is. Where we start to enter this fray is when we divide each other. And we move this person and like, but he's a white person. It's an Indian. We're using the very same structures that are extracting the resources that we are supposed to be distributing amongst ourselves for the betterment of our society. We're losing sight of what is important. Power will remain power, regardless if you put a Rupert or you put a Mutsepe. It will be power, and power will act the same way because that's how power acts. Power only seeks to have more power. It seeks control over human bodies. Regardless, you can be a black person, you can be a white person. If you don't have power, whoever has power will use power on you. And this is where South Africa has always lost the plot. The Boers did to black people what the British were doing to the Boers and black people. When they came into power, they built a system that was there. They made it just a bit better. Apartheid did not just come out in 1948. It was a replication of the system that the British built here. Everything that they were doing, they just refined it. They made it more refined. They made certain parts more subtle. They made us govern ourselves. They created Bantustans. Bantustans are no different than the colonies created by the British. They cut it out more because those who were powerful needed to keep the power. And those who are powerful now, we refer to them as the Boer Bond or whatever you wish to refer to them. They are a small minority. And even in those times, in the 1800s, there were rich black men who were trying to fight for their right to keep land. Not the right for black people to have land. It was the right for them to keep land, for them to vote. It wasn't the right for all black people. Whoever has power seeks to add to their power, keep their power. And I think for us at times, we forget the Me Too movement. The Me Too movement was not looking at Vusi. The Me Too movement was not attacking a Paul there. They were attacking very powerful people. Very powerful people who are using their position incorrectly and using their power to oppress other people. And this is the same trend that keeps on happening in all of these movements. They only seek powerful people. When we speak about racism, have you ever heard them speaking about Peter there in the corner? No. They'll talk about Click, they'll talk about Oppenheimer, they'll talk about Rupert, because that's where they want to go. They're seeking only where power resides. They don't care about the issue. You can look at all of them. These feminist movements, they are seeking powerful men. They don't care about you, Lou, or even me. Me and you are just on the side because we are the same as them. We are at the bottom here, all struggling to get scraps. They seek powerful people. And even look at the fight against apartheid. The fight against apartheid, you'd be marveled to find that there were white people, even farmers who were helping black people get over it. But Who were they seeking? They sought to go to the Union building. They didn't seek to go to Soweto or go to Freestad there in a small town in Velkom. They didn't care about that. They cared about getting where the power was, to replace whoever was in power, to get the power themselves.
I think going back to I agree with most of the stuff that you're saying. I think going back to this whole rape thing and this whole sexual assault thing. Again, like I said to you before, it's like if you get that, if you understand that when you're the victim, the game works for you, then you can kind of understand how all these things are kind of pan out. So like. I think also the big thing that you see is that because we all come from mothers, right? Especially when it comes to this rape thing. Am I hearing my voice?
Yeah, we can hear
Can
you.
you hear you properly?
Okay. So because we all come from mothers, right? And we all cherish our mothers, every single one of us, right? We then have this ideal that the mother is the angel. Right, and they can do no harm. And compassion is such a great trait to have. You know, mothers show undying love, and that's amazing. You know, every trait that's feminine or that's motherly, like, cannot do any harm. Right, and then we have on the other side that, okay, well, look, if you're a guy and you have masculine traits and you're part of the patriarchal stuff. Yeah, there's a few guys that are like that, but the rest of them kind of negative. And even if there is some sort of woman that is sort of negative, it's probably because they've been grouped with a terrible guy, right? So what then tends to happen is all of these thought processes that then come and stem from them. Whereas when, like it's like what you mentioned now, with you get into relationships, when a woman beats up a man, it's not a problem, right? Probably because there was love that was involved, or maybe he did something wrong to him, or maybe there's something that she was unhappy about. But as soon as it happens the other way, boom, you need to go to jail immediately, right? Same with what these movements are doing now. It's like, okay, well, we'll make the woman the angel, and we'll make the male kind of, okay, well, you can get all the negative, doesn't matter, right? So if there's any rape charge, it's always the first thought process is male victimized female. And if it's the other way around, she has a reason. And it's probably a good one. But if it's this way around, it's like, no reason at all. And then these laws get brought up, right? That then men have no voice, for instance. Or whatever voice they have, it's like, well, it's negative.
But
right? And it's like...
Sorry, let me interject. I think it's a question that, do men realize the reason why it is like that is because of the same men? Is that this didn't just come up because, men are stronger, so women are more fragile, so there's an imbalance of power, so let's see them as these flowers and etc. It's the fact that stats say men are the majority to abuse. As a result, when things happen in society and they get normalized in that it happens a lot, that's what gets perceived as just as a norm in general. So
exactly what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It's like, again, it's like in relationships. Females beat males up more than males beat females up. It's just that men beat up females and create more damage. Right? Okay, how many times do you see females slap someone? It goes as far as you can go on Facebook and social media, Google this stuff, and you will see a female slap another guy. And they won't even do anything about that. As soon as you see the opposite, it's a massive issue. That's normalized. You look at the shows that we watch. You look at Ochola 99. If the female does anything to the guy, okay, whatever. As soon as the guy even shows any slight aggression, the bouncers come out of nowhere with like 16 arms. So it's like, okay, well, where is this equality then that you're fighting for? Where, like, in what sense? And where is it that males are really oppressing women and are oppressing women to the point where women are not doing any wrong? And as soon as you say that, what happens? You get labeled as a misogynist, right? As a male. But a female can go and create a group and say men are trash. And then it's like, okay, well, how's that the opposite of how's that not the opposite of misogyny? How's that not misandry? You don't even, they hide that word from you. They hide that word from everyone because females can't do any harm when it comes to males. It's the same with what I was saying with toxic masculinity and fragile masculinity. Where's the opposites? Can't females be toxic? Can't females be fragile? What happened to that? So what happens is you have a massive majority of people, females as the majority, that get then put in a little box and then get fed all these things that they need to get fed to feel as though that they're victims. And I'm not saying that they're not victims. I'm not saying that. Of course they are. But it's like, who are the oppressors?
I think,
and it's most probably also part of you get taught that you cannot be your person. That's the issue. And then you don't take responsibility for that. So you have all these women, like, look at another movement, right? You have these body shaming things that come about, right? You have females that say, oh my God, don't ask me about my weight because that's offensive to me. I'm the victim and you're oppressing me, right? And you say, okay, fine, fair enough, you could say that. And then the same exact female will turn around and say, you know what, but I don't like short guys, and I don't like guys with genitalia that look like this. And it's like...
Hey, Pedro. Hey, big bro. That's why she's laughing, my bro, because like it's like that.
guys,
It's like that. I'm sorry to interject, guys, but I mean, I'm not sure if you understand this Xhosa, my bro, down here. I was understand this Xhosa.
I understand from you.
Oh, yeah, Ted? Okay, sure. Okay, I can do. Kalon divakte to English, up and up in lost. No, mamela long stuff it. I think right le point ya kuyibeke ngokukho ifemale amongst us because kuba nanchilo qala if singayithetha sisodwa singamajita lewe already sekwi-label ebekwe ba la majita ikhona le agenda phezu kwayo. Because
they've been hurt by a female at some point in their lives. There's always that.
Yeah,
Can't be the truth.
that from experience.
Can't be the truth.
Yeah. So I think bona mabaze forward idobana ngaba and that's the communication akanye that's the conversation engafunwayo ngabantu if into sensitive and inyani. I think that this is happening throughout South Africa fit. Should you stand firm with the truth ungela mntu uzolebeleshwa wrong. Yabo abantu bafuna uhamba nomoya othetha into engekhoyo kuthiwa no hallo abantu behamba ne-movement kuthiwa no ayisho siyalandela no kuthiwa i-right. Yabo sisi-followers. Yabo asifuna ukuma niwe yethu because then ibekhe wahamba wayoma niwe yakho it's uncomfortable there and you don't want that, you want comfortability. Let me rather join the society that Tina Sizi, I don't know to call names, but I'm gonna stand with these people because I know Bas is safe here and whatever is said to me, okanye about me, I'm protected. Yabo? But if Tina singamachita, kuzawuzichera pixeba hayi umchito omfitshane kukho indawo azingazirechiyo somewhere kwaze kwathini already, it's normal, izawuhlekwa lo way leyo. It's gonna be a laughing matter. Ifana nalento ithethayo uba umuntu aqhwatywe live ivideorayize amajita yalaha kodwa should you attempt ubana ngaba umngxoliso nomngxolisa la mntana amajita azobetha wena. So nathi amongst thina amajita sikho loyal. I think ikhona lento samu iprove emacherini ndingayaziyo uba yintoni kwathina amajita. Yeah, ikhona lento samu iprove emacherini ndingayaziyo uba yintoni. Yabo, because if wena longster ufuna ubetha icherry ndizokunqanda ba longster yikho lento yenzayo. But if la cherry ufuna ubetha longster me bro ikhona lento uyenzileyo. Yabo, that's the narrative.
Yeah, it goes back to
Yeah.
this what I was saying now, that I think the crux of it is the fact that all of us are born from females. And when we're born from females, then that's the first sort of love that you see, that you feel, that you sense, right? And therefore, what happens then is, if most of the time, if your mother doesn't let you go or becomes a terrible mother to you, that is the only person that you can then connect and see love and life and everything that she does, you see as only positive. You don't see any negative and compassion. You don't see that when your mother protects you, right, from other people, right, without even finding out what the truth is, it's actually something negative, right? Because then you can never be wrong, right? But so then what happens then is that then every other female, especially like in your family, for example, it's almost like you have the same thing, and the guys should just go fend for themselves, right? And with that thought process in mind, you then think, oh, okay, well then that means that you need to protect females. Okay, cool, great, fantastic, true. You should do that, but you should also, when people do wrong, not then say we should only protect females. You should protect everyone and call everyone else out as well. So what's happening is that then you have again, like I'm saying, you have a bunch of people that are lost, right? And what happens is those people are collected and they're said, told, listen, whatever you're doing, you can only be the victim and you can do no wrong. And all the traits that you have are great. And those people out there, their traits are terrible. Aggression is terrible, right? But aggression is not terrible when you want us to go fight wars.
Yeah.
Aggression is not terrible when you want us to go and fight another guy that's punching you in the face. When you want us to stick up for you for against someone else that's trying to violate you. Then you want to call men up on aggression, that same aggressive nature that you don't want at home. Right? So then you get put in these little boxes and it's, look, you're victims, you're victims, you're victims. Everything you're doing is perfect. Everything you're doing is perfect. And every single time you do that, you then overlook your own oppressive nature. And you never get told about it. You never get told that whenever you're chilling and you're telling that your boyfriend needs to do this for you and your boyfriend needs to be like this and be this type of guy. I want a thin guy that's well built, right? You don't get told that's body shaming, but you get told that as soon as a guy says to you, I don't like you because you're fat, man, that guy is the worst person possible.
It's body shaming, yeah. So do you think this is where it originates, Faith? The fact that we love our mothers that much, that we see no wrong, and then ipumele emachirin tunguku. Is that what you're saying?
I think that's part of it. Another reason that I think is part of it is that women are primarily the prize for sexual selection, right? So a woman won't just fuck any guy, right? So a woman has to pick the best species that's going to be alive, right? So women have the power for procreation, right? So that means that every single time that a woman has sex, they need to make sure that the person that they're having sex with will give the best possible species next, right? So they're picky maters. Whereas guys will fuck anyone, right? You don't control that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what happens is then,
What's the correlation?
Okay, so what happens is then you have females, because they control that power, they have to then always pick the best guys possible. They have to feel as though you need to now, what do you call this? Fight for me, right? You need to prove yourself to me. Because proving yourself to me is not just proving yourself to me, but proving yourself to the rest of the species that's going to come. You're going to be the next possible best person, right? So then men understand that, and then we then are always scared to pick the best chick, right? Because we know that, oh man, you know what, it's going to be tough to get God because he's out of my league. That's why you never hear a female saying, he's out of my league. It's like, look, you have thousands of guys in your inboxes sending you dick pics every single second. for a guy, for a guy, for a guy, you're lucky even if you get the text back, right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, nature already puts women in a pedestal to say, look, you're Mother Nature. You're now supposed to procreate. You need to choose who's going to be the best possible human beings for the next culture, for the next wavelength. So you can't then just go and fuck the next Uber driver that you see. You can't just go and fuck the next delivery man that you see, right? So you need to always pick the best.
No
That's why
offense.
women go. That's
Yeah.
why women go for the. That's why women go for the same men, the guys at the top, the guys that are going to be always there. And you have a lot of guys that get no one, right? So with that, we as men then see women as that pedestal because they need to be for the rest of the species, right?
So ingxaki nini basically.
No.
Let me elaborate why I say that. Because
Yeah,
when you
please.
look at what we just spoke about now, about indoda xa betha umfazi, it's a hoo-ha, right? And for both ends, for all genders, all races, it's like, oh my God, what a pig, you know, what a cunt, whatever. And then if it's a woman that does that, there is gray areas. There's interrogations of kutheni wenze ntoni, why did it provoke ugel, kutheni, right? And when you try and think about it from a male perspective, it's like, how has that been allowed, right? In the essence of when that happens to a woman, women stand up for other women and say, yo, what are you men doing? I've never seen a guy who stand up for and it seems like it's amplified now because women stand up for one another. That's why just a simple tweet, and people are going to say, believer. We stand up for each other when such things are concerned. But men don't do that.
No.
Now it's going to.
So I don't think that.
Okay?
I don't even think that's it at all. Because again, it goes back to this whole thing of you only stand up for whoever you're going to feel that is going to benefit you. You stand up for your little group, right? You stand up for other women as long as you're standing up for other women. As soon as there's that knock on the door, and there's someone that knocks there and says, "Mamela, her brother or your son, right, violated another woman," then what do? You got to stick up for that woman. You stick up for your
standards with their sons.
Exactly what I'm saying. So then you stick up for men. Your sons are men. You stick up for your uncle. They're men. You stick up for your husbands. They're men. So you always stick up for wherever you benefit. So this whole narrative of why don't men stick up for other men is because men trying to stick up for the rest of society. It's not about other men. It's about the fact that we also have sisters. So we're trying to stick up for them. We're trying to stick up for whatever the truth is. That's what we're doing. It's not, again, it goes back to the whole feminism talk. It's like, it's when females are oppressed, stick up for the oppression. But as soon as they're oppressed, stick up for the person that they're oppressing as well, regardless of whether they're male or female. But then there's this double standards on the other side is that, okay, I will be me too movement all the time. And every single man that has ever been violating a woman should be burnt. It's like, yeah, fuck yeah, for sure. Men will say that too. Well, yeah, of course we should fucking burn them. You should never violate a woman. Okay, come knocking at your door. Police come knocking at your door. And they say, hey, we came to fetch your son. Apparently he slept with a woman while she was intoxicated. Now what?
Ish.
Then you say, oh, you know what? This thing of intoxication and consent, it's really shaky. Oh, it's shaky. It's not shaky when you were running after other people's kids. Yeah, and the weird thing is, again, it's like the way that we see guys, we see them whenever we want to see them based on how we want to. If there's a war, you say, fuck yeah, we want aggressive men. We want men that are going to be fucking sexually frustrated and they're going to want to kill every other person because we want to be safe. And then there's no war. And the guys come back from the war. They're sexually frustrated and they're aggressive. then you say, fuck that, put them in jail. They should learn how to control their aggression.
Nithini ke ukunina ngaloo nto as amadoda?
That's what I'm saying. It's not about
iyafana noba singathini akho nto izowutshintsha
Akho
because the conversation ihamba between us. We need nina nize ngaphambili nizothi no kunje because everything lo bendithetha ndithi ikhona le nto siyenzayo thina singamajita engathi sifuna uzenza sibonakala ingathi we are these kind of people when women perceive us. That's why uLungster esithi thina sibangaba bantu nifuna nina sibe ngabo. If nifuna abantu abazoya kiwo, I don't know, because that's how you want society to be. If nifuna abantu abazoya kiwo, you want strong men, these what guys. But if you want someone ozohlala apha endlini, you want this teddy bear, non-violent guy, yabo ozokhadlisha nawe, or who's very sweet.
I can say the same thing, Gani. The same narrative that you're bringing now can be switched up as nani anifuni hoes. Kodwa niyazifuna xa kuphandle. Kodwa apha endlini ufuna umuntu ofuna wena, ufuna umuntu ozakuphekela. This can be a two-way thing, but it's very uncomfortable for you to say, but Tina, we want you guys to be who you want what we want you guys to be, because nifuna uba yintoni what ithini into yenu specifically my question, like why don't you become that? Why don't you
sorry man, so even before we even get like when I'm speaking, I'm not speaking for other niggas. I know other guys are going to be fucking disagreeing with what I'm saying. I'm not speaking for them. I'm speaking for myself as a guy, right? And I'm saying whatever I'm saying. And if you agree with it, then fine. If you don't agree with it, cool. I wasn't speaking for you, right? So when you say then what do guys say for other guys, it's like I'm not speaking for a group. I'm not speaking for that. I'm speaking for what I'm seeing and what I'm receiving. And when I say that women are like this, I'm not speaking obviously for every other woman or about every other woman. There's more of amazing women than there are terrible women, right? But I'm speaking from I'm speaking towards the women that are terrible. To try to explain to them, like, look, whatever you're doing, you're not benefiting anyone in the long run. And all you're doing is you're taking small groups of women and leading them astray. So it's not a male versus female thing, more than it's, look, we're trying to find peace here. We're trying to find a middle ground. And by finding this middle ground, pointing fingers is not going to help anything. Yeah.
So what is this common ground?
Like
feminists always say, what?
I don't think there's a pointing of fingers. It's an accountability thing where in conversations like these, I can come in and say, okay, yes, I acknowledge that women can be these people. And factoring that, I could be speaking about myself or could not be speaking about myself, right? But in general, it's not a you men. When somebody says you men, think of it in general and think of it as when, even if you're as a guy, you don't do a certain thing or you would do it. It doesn't mean the other person is going to do the opposite, right? But think of it in a general sense as a holistic group of men. What can you do to change the narrative? Because we're speaking about a very general narrative. We're not speaking about something very to the specific point about one anyway, you know? So I think it's very open-ended like that. Ukolo has been quiet. What does he have to say about this?
No, we say it, Lam. I mean, I'm just, I want us to notice that these type of things always emerge at certain points in history. Right now, we're going through a very rough time in history. It's since 2008, our world has been turned upside down. Since the big recession that destroyed so many economies, so many countries that were growing, including our own. This is when you find a lot of violence, not only towards women, but also to men. If you're a man, you're more likely to be killed by a man, regardless of anything else. We know that people who get hospitalized for violence being inflicted on them are men. Men are the ones more likely to commit suicide. Men are actually facing a lot of things, but due to the point where we are, our society is in chaos. We can't lie about that. We're trying to rearrange society. This is why so many very strong groups are emerging. Groups that are seeing that the place where power used to be, the people that used to be trusted are no longer trusted. You find a lot of big movements. I like to make an example of BLM. How many BLM, BLM is quite well funded. How many projects have you ever heard of them investing that money back into black community? They don't have to. They don't do that because now they know that there's a switching of the old guard. The old guard is no longer trusted by the people. The people don't trust the people who are in charge. They think they're stupid, and it's opportunity. A lot of people will use any issue. Gender-based violence is an issue. It should be changed, but we can't limit it to only being changed for a certain amount of people. Violence is a problem in South Africa. Violence being committed on everyone. Some people don't report. There are many people who are suffering, man. They've never reported. And the more we divide ourselves, because the people who are dividing are saying, hey, we must only focus on women. We must only focus on men. We must only focus on whites. We must only focus on blacks. They're benefiting from those movements. We can look at even movements like Freedom Front. These ones that are saying no to land expropriation and all that. They're benefiting from saying that. There are people who are making a benefit from all these movements, regardless of which movement it is. And what we end up doing is going at each other's throats. It's not helping anyone. It won't solve any issue. You can speak about how guys don't feel protected. Men are not raised to be protected. The structure does not teach a male that he has emotions first.
Yeah.
It tells him that anything that he faces, he must face alone. He's strong enough. He's a male. That's why they're committing so much suicide.
He must fight.
Yeah, he must fight. Because that's the society that he's been raised in. Yet the society he's been raised in is crumbling. It's crumbling. Those type of ways that a man is a warrior. He must go out there. He must sacrifice for the family. His sacrifices are low. And the woman has always been protected in our culture. In our culture, the generic culture is that women are weaker and they must be protected. They must stay in the house. But now we're in a culture which is saying that women must be given the opportunity to go out and make as much money as a man and have as many opportunities as a man. But it conflicts with what our society thinks of us and also what it expects from us. And we are also in conflict with those ideas. We have young ladies who are working very, very good jobs. And because the culture dictates certain things, this lady knows her man there, he's under internship. They do wish to get married, but he must pay lobola. She can pay for the lobola. And some of them end up paying for that lobola, but it's a great shame to the man. We are in a place where a lot of the cultural things that used to happen, we're in postmodern society, conservative ideas are dying. New ideas are coming. And some of the new ideas are not really practical. They don't look at our society. They look at the idea of our society. A lot of things look at the idea of our society. In a perfect society would have this. We don't want to go into the gray area. Kunzi, my face. I want a gray area. If we were to sit in the gray area as a society and actually just think, what type of structure will work the best for all of us? There are many men who are based on the way they were taught to be a man. You're excluded by how you are taught. Your ideology that you hold on to is what will determine the outcome of your life. And a lot of men have been taught the ideology of the past. A lot of men are acting like their uncles and their fathers and their grandfather.
Yep.
In a time where being like your uncle and your father and your grandfather in this time will get your head. It will destroy you.
Yeah. It's gonna land you in jail, my guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, you'll go into jail. And there are women who are acting like their mother and their grandmother. And they're struggling now also. Because they don't we don't want to shift with the times. We're not being realistic. Even here in South Africa, we're not being realistic. There are a lot of things that we 70s that we're trying to push now. We're pushing things that won't work. We're not looking at what time we're living in. We can speak about all the issues. All the issues rest upon the topic that you're writing. Rape is for power. It's about power for a person who's been disempowered. Someone has taken away their power, and they seek the weakest person they can find next. That's why in prison, if you're a new prisoner, as a male, you're more likely to be raped than an old prisoner. Because they will look for someone who's new, who does not know the system, and exploit them and rape them and show them that I have the power over you. You are now under my control.
Rape is so to gender. Yeah.
Even we're finding a lot of young guys now are willing to report. If you were to hear the story of these guys, where these babysitters, these aunties from next door, and all these people were raping them. They didn't know, because you never expect that a woman rapes you. It becomes something taboo. You hide it. Some commit suicide. Someone was telling the story. Like, I didn't know. I thought it was accepted that this 21-year-old was sleeping with a 10-year-old. And we always run away from that. We make it a personal thing. Like, but because I'm black, my ancestors. Even at that time, my ancestors were living. There were some people with power who owned that land.
Is this man still there?
I think network I'm sure.
Look, I like his point, yes, because I think it really speaks to just how every topic that you're going to bring out has got to have a consideration of what do we want collectively.
Yeah.
This in terms of systems, because yonke lento is got to have an impact on what type of system you want to move with. Things worked in the past because there was just structure in that. Indoda is going to go out and go hustle, bring home the bacon. The mother does this.
Yeah.
And like that is fading away, and it's disrupting the structure that worked in the past, right? And a lot of things are going to be in question, and it goes to like things like men being vulnerable and how that can actually affect the benefit of how things work in society, for example. But is that what men are ready to do? Is that what you are ready to put into changing the system? And how women can go out and go work and have this very superior aura to them, but then the men require them, they need them to be submissive when they're at home and be a wife and raise kids. Is that what they want to do? Are they ready for that sacrifice? And how that system in today's world, you'll do certain things like and then it's like, think of a scenario in how back in the days, for example, you think your dad was driving a car, right? And then whistles at your mom and says extend that time, that type of vibe. And that was romantic. Right now, if you had to do that, catcalling, it's seen in a different context because the system is different. So I really, really like the point he made on systems, because things have changed in a systematic way, and we need to be the ones who decide, but actually, do we want to change ourselves and adapt to this new system, or are we saying izinto mazibuyele kule ndawo bezikuyo basically?
But izinto zobuyela njani pha kodwa thina we are moving with the system, because here we are sihamba nesystem ngoku anti siphila ngeli xesha nawe uyaphakama uhambe yespan awulinde boyfriend yakho ibuye nemali, and then you decide what to do. Why don't we then make plans zoba whatever we do ikwazi ufitha in kule system without compromising anyone's dignity, so to speak? Ungacaba ngoku omnye uzawufila superior kunomnye just because ngoku we have equal opportunities, for example.
Yeah.
Why ingaziba easy ngolo hlobo? Why is it funeka zibe complicated just because ngoku women have voice, for example?
And women have always had a voice. And I think also the problem really comes in where again you're put in a little box and you get told what you want to get told, and then someone says to you, listen, you're gonna be victims and we're gonna give you everything that you guys have wanted. And it's like yay, but no one thinks of it. No one thinks of it at all. And then we say, okay, cool, what do you guys want? Oh, we want to be able to be independent. It's like, okay, cool. How are you gonna do that? We're gonna have to go work. Oh, okay. And then how are we gonna do that? We're gonna have to wake up at 9 o'clock and come home at 5. It's like, ooh, do I have to work that long?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, that's what men are doing. That's how they're getting into the CEO positions. They're working overtime. That's what happens. So what are you gonna do? Oh, actually, you know what? Yeah, well, that's what you wanted, right? You wanted to be equal, right? You wanted to fight for equality, right? And that's what it entails. You know, if you can give any guy an opportunity to stay at home and play FIFA, like, would you not fucking take that? Of course you would. But you know that in society, you have to go and work to make something of yourself. So then you do it regardless of whether you like it or not. Right? But then somehow it gets fed that that's an oppressive patriarchy. It's like, how? I would rather sit at home and chill with my family than go out and do all these other things and work and be with a boss that's always going to shout in your ear. So it's a good thing to have the opportunities there for women to go and do things that they want to do, right? But to then label that as something as oppressive by men, that women are not doing that, is like, no, not at all. Like, if we would like to, we would stay at home with the kids then. You go out and work. And then what? As soon as you go to work, the first thing you think of is, oh my gosh, and then you want to go back home. So then what happens is then everything that we've been doing has been something whereby it's not that it's equal, but everyone has a role to play. And there's also this thought process of, oh, well, gender roles are terrible. It's like, no. Like, if I'm a guy and I want to fix a car, I don't want someone else to come and rock up and help me fix the car, because I need to find out, okay, let me do it myself. Same if you're a woman, for example. When you're doing your chores, you don't want someone else rocking up and taking this and putting it there, unless you ask them and they do it specifically. So it's not a role, it's just a task that needs to be done, and it needs to be done by both of you, for example. So therefore, one takes the one task and one takes the other task. That's what happens in a relationship. Most women say, you know what? I love my kids. I want to stay at home and take care of them. But then I don't have the money for it. Okay, you meet the guy. The guy says, look, I don't really like kids, man. I don't like taking care of them. They're very irritating. I don't know what to do when this thing cries. But I like to go out there and fight with the other guys in the world and try to get wherever I need to get to. Then they say, oh, okay. We don't have to be equal there. We then work together and then we have a family. So you then work at home and then I go work outside. And it works. You can't both be doing the same thing. You're both going to wake up and go to 9 to 5. Who's going to take care of the kids?
Yeah. But some men don't see it like that. Some men are with the idea that, okay, no, so it means go to work, 50-50. Even the conversations of dates. Back in the day, and
yes.
I would imagine that it was the man is courting the lady, taking her out, etc. That all of a sudden must be changed now, because that's
the
not
thing.
in line, because men don't want to spend.
That's what the equality feminism thing is pushing us. But no, look, let's make it 50-50. Let's make it 50-50. Oh, okay, really? Okay, we'll do that. Pay for our dates. How about that? How about you come and pick me up at home? How about that? Yeah.
And you pay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you find that the exact same things the feminist movement is trying to actually fight for women, they're actually doing the opposite. Because now you have a bunch of men that are uninterested. It's like, okay, no, thanks. I don't want the woman that's going to be toiling 9 to 5 when I want to toil 9 to 5 and have her be at home for me, waiting for me. If you want to toil a 9 to 5, no problem. I'm fine with that. But go and toil your 9 to 5 and good luck with finding a man that likes that. And then women are going to rock up at 35 and 40 and say, well, why am I not getting a man? Because you're doing what every other man is doing.
Yeah.
Just like a man, if he was doing every other thing that woman was doing, why would a woman want him?
I think there's every person for each person. I think there's men who like, even though the majority is that the typical thing of the woman must take care of the family, he goes work, and then the structure works, and it's a system that's worked in the past, right? Now, there's men who want that. I think that's the majority of men. But there's men who are like,
There's women that want it.
man, ndifuna ugelo ozosebenza. So if there's people like that, I think it's a topic or a conversation of honesty with oneself. But ithini into yakho wena as an individual, what do you want?
Yeah. That's true. Like I said, sorry. So that's true. What I'm trying to get at is the same principles and things that the feminist movements, especially the radicals, that they're fighting, that they're claiming that they're fighting for women, and every other man that speaks up against them, or anyone that speaks up against them, is misogynist. It is an absolute lie. Because also, it's like when you're a woman, right, and you go and you say, look, Kuko and Cherry that's working a 9 to 5 and how are you not a misogynist? Because the very term misogynist is hate towards a woman. So how can a woman not be a misogynist? Why is this term only labeled to men? So, and that's the thing, is that you're not going to get told that, because as soon as you get told that, that means that then, oh, so you actually are capable of being an oppressor. You are capable of being a victimizer, and you're not just a victim. So that's what I'm trying to get at, is you have a bunch of hopeless people that are being pushed, and just like black people are most of the time as well, that are getting pushed by all these things, and they're only getting told, you're the victim, you're the victim, you're the victim, you do no harm, you can do no harm, it's them that do all the harm. And it's like, okay, when you form these movements, and you form, say, these body positivity movements, and there you bash another female, or another female bashing another female, like, how's that not misogyny?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, that's not misogyny, because it's like, yeah, of course it is. And then these movements, they fracture. You guys break up amongst each other. Yeah, but just like what I'm saying now, this is a reason why I don't want to seem as though it's a male kind of conversation. Because even with us, we have different needs and wants. Yeah, but I might like someone that stays at home and never goes out to work. Yeah, but whereas another guy, a friend of mine, might like someone that's going to go out and do a 9 to 5 with them. So now, as soon as I push the narrative to say, we want this, as soon as we get what I think we want, we sit down and the guy's going to say, I didn't want a 9 to 5. I wanted a 9 to 1. And now all of a sudden we fight amongst ourselves. I wanted a half-day job.
Yeah.
So that's the issue with these movements as well, is that you then think that the group is for you, and the group is actually not for you. You are a group. You're a bunch of things. Yeah, well, you're black, you're from a Kainicha, you're a man. It's so many fractions that you can divide yourselves in. Right? I'm different. I might be a male and I can connect with him, but then we connect there. Yeah, but then we're not connected there. Yeah, but so all of a sudden, me and him are opposites. Yeah, but, so the problem is when these groups, they make us all feel like we're all part of one thing, and we all have one fight, and we don't. We don't have one fight. All our fights are different. Even your own personal problems are your own personal problems. You might need to write the test. I need to go and type something, another email that has nothing to do with anything. I need to solve that. That's my problem. Those groups are not going to help me do that. Fees must fall is another thing. All the group, we're going to go fight for fees. And then you come back from fighting fees must fall. Until later, thank you for coming. Goodbye. You're going to go back to you're going to go back. One man. What are you going to do then? You're going to go back to everyone and say, kick me where is? But not seeing what I'm kicking
and yenzekile lo maninzi amajelo sabonayo ba hey akawatheng fees must fall. No offense. But it happened.
No, but abantu
It happened.
basejele, yeah, let's go and burn.
Abanye basejele.
Yes, let's go and burn and
Yeah.
occupy this. Like Facebook School is such a good example. Yeah, well, let's go and burn and occupy Bremna, for example. Ne? It sounds like a great idea. Why? Because we're all black and we're all fighting for the same thing. Ah, yeah, perfect. Okay, sharp. We go there, right? You go and someone burns the painting. You get sent to jail. What do? You run away,
Everything
right?
to himself.
Yes. You come back tomorrow and you say, hey, let's fight for this Malban. Then the other guys are going to say, oh, asimazi namhlanje izolo bezela thina ulela le nto besiyifuna. Yes, okay, cool. Let's go occupy them the second day. Now we fraction, right? Now we have some people in jail and some people are fighting. And then we faction. Then we go back to Bremna. Then what happens? One guy gets a little touchy, touches another female. Oh my God, sexual violation. Men are trash. Boom, fraction again. We hate men. Men are dogs. I'm on Janu. Fraction again. Fraction again.
Hey. But I think
Then what happens? Then what happens after that? Then after that fraction, then the female say, you know what? We have to fight for this, man. Like we really have to keep fighting for this fees much more. Let's keep the eye on the prize. So okay, do you really think that's the prize? Okay. And then we have someone say, okay, so guys, let's all go fight for this, and then let's also fight for women empowerment. And then the LGBTQ say, don't call me a he or a her or a woman. I'm a them. I don't want to be associated with this. Huh? Boom, fraction again. And then all you're left with is a bunch of individuals. Some of them are in jail. Some of them are passing. Some of them are not. Some of them are back home trying to explain to their parents why they didn't make it. Some of them graduated and they made something for themselves. And where's the fees?
Because we are still paying even today.
I think more than
Even
anything,
today, we are still paying those
Sana,
fees.
this is just an emphasis on the fact that in joining any type of group, it is a selfish move. Ne?
Careful.
And
Gotta be
every
careful.
person going into that specific group must go with that intent, or not even intent, they must go with that knowledge, knowing ba wonke umuntu uzele, but uzele into yakhe apha. And
Yes.
and now different agendas stem out of groups and movements like that, because Omnia could be monetary, or it could be because there's people went on to parliament
Unispan.
because
Unispan, yeah.
because
Unispan.
now it looks like a good thing. She's fighting for, yes, she's that leader, and then she gets on to get the job. Ukubone. So that's why fractions are then so easily formulated, is because kulungelo hayi man kutheni ngokwena unga occupying Bremen namhlanje hayi benifuna ulala ne-assignment, but nakufelwe mna hayi bo
So,
why
Yeah.
don't you think about yourself ukubone, because clearly uyazicingela yena, because uyazazi uzele ntoni apha, beyond the fact
yes.
yes
Yaqhubeka nophethu ngoyeba abazali bami na.
uyabona
Yaqhubeka andifana.
uyabona. So I
Yeah,
think people really
and fun,
know
man.
that. And it goes,
Yes.
that's a perfect example actually in terms of what types of groups have emerged just in general in society, because then even
Yeah.
when you think about, I'll make it personal, the body positive movement, when you get into it and say, yes, I'm a body positive advocate, you get into it with the idea that it's something that I can do. Different people can go into different agendas, just like I just explained now. And then at the end of the day, kuzothiwa, oh Lona, she's mean or she's nasty. Ulibali bakaloku yena ebene agenda girl, ebene agenda. And the agenda had nothing to do with us, or had nothing to do with the overall empowerment of anything or whatever. And that's why then again the faction will be there, because sine agendas are different. Singena izinto that seem to bring us together, because when we ndiyayenza into but ndiyenzela mna. And it's so sad to the people who actually are there for the actual cause, because kongazicingeliyo beyond like uvula ingqondo kongayicingi loo nto, then you're gonna suffer and it's not gonna be cute. Uzoba sejele and no one's gonna care about you. Ukubona?
But even with that, even let's take a person that is really there for the movement, right? How are you supposed to trust that? And what does it mean to be there for the movement? There's always going to be a personal agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like something like these movements for consent and rape. It's like most of the people there have probably been violated.
Yeah.
Of course, like in the natural sense, of course they have. That's why they push these narratives. But then they make these laws, and these laws now have these laws that they're making or they're pushing now affect someone else. So even if you have a good heart or you're compassionate, like that compassion has a negative nature, just like anything.
Yeah.
Medication has toxic level. It's good now to actually heal your headache. You take 6 of those things, it's your last headache. So it's the same with all these movements. You keep moving, you keep pushing, and you say, look, we need to make sure that we're going to now, like the exact same example that I made. And look, you can't give, you need to have consent. It's like, really? What does consent mean? Like sex is liberating and we need to have as much of it all the time. But at the same time, it's so dangerous that you have to sign a paper before you have it. It's like, what? How can it be both things? How are then we supposed to court each other? Like, what is consent? Who raped who? Like, we don't even know what that means. Who raped who? You can't even answer that. And then it's like, oh, there's a victim. There's like, who is the victim? Yeah, well, so even the people that can say that they're out there because they're really out there for the positive nature, like, so what? The positive nature is still going to be something that we're benefiting from.
But standard, because I think society...
Exactly. So how are you any different to anyone else? How are you any different to anyone else?
People want to fit in, and humans just in general want to fit in. So even if you're not in a movement, you are with friends that you feel like you can fit in. That alone in itself is a group, and you have a different mindset compared to another group. Ungena kule friendship group because you feel like you can relate to them, and you have your own agendas going to that friendship group, and it's just what it is. You can you can definitely
not
say
only
there's
that,
negatives, but
you are a group. Yeah, so it's not even your friends. You are a group as an individual person. Yeah, it's what I was saying at the beginning to Blue as well, about the fact that you can be one person, and we can be chilling like this, and we can have a conversation like this now, and we can agree that, you know what, us as black people need to stand up for each other, right? So I have a slice of black, he has a slice of black, he has a slice of black, right? And then all of a sudden, in the same breath, we can switch up the conversation and say, look, but at the same time, I also feel as though if you go and beat up a woman, you should go to jail. Right? And then you say, yeah, I feel that. And then we say, oh, no, you don't feel that. Right? And that's because on our slice, I'm male. On your slice, you're female. So we can all be all a bunch of groups. One person is a bunch of groups. And whatever can benefit you now cannot benefit you later. So you can be privileged as a black person now to say a certain thing. And then tomorrow you can be the same things that you're saying, you can be the opposite.
Yeah.
Sorry, my battery's dying.
Yeah, so is mine actually.
I go on his up.
Yeah. You still want to go on this conversation, eh?
There's phones and go and it is not everything.
Okay.
But yeah, man. What I wanted to add on to the conversation. We can have a part 3 tomorrow with Pope and then wrap it up.
Yeah. But I just think just in general,
I
don't think there's anything wrong with groups because they always just going to be there. And there's always going to be positives and negatives to literally anything in life. And people must just remember that humans are just selfish beings. All of them. And so do what's best for them, you know. So in anything that you get into, ngena uyazi ba. That's why people even in friendship can ask ba, but what am I gaining from this friendship, Kenyani? Like,
Yeah.
you know, where we going with this? Even in a relationship, things need to benefit you. Like you're in a marriage, we don't know like what are you getting from being with this person, and just the holistic well-being of so yeah, I mean, yesterday there we can talk about how they influence how we live as people, but in general and just be cognizant as a person.
So it's not that there's nothing wrong with groups, it's that there's something wrong with groups and it's something that's beneficial from groups, just like everything else.
Yes.
Yeah. So like it's the same with compassion. It's like your mother is something amazing with compassion because she takes care of you wholeheartedly. But then the negative side of that is that when she wants to go and kill someone else to protect you.
Yes. That's perfectly summed up, actually. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same with aggression. Same with aggression. It's like, okay, there's something wrong with aggression. There's something good with aggression. It's like it's good when you want to go out there and protect the people that you're trying to love, but then there's something bad when you're going out there to kill someone else that someone else loves.
Because only for the ones that I love, not just Jay.
Yeah. So that's the narrative, and I think, like I said again, with a lot of females, I think that they're just when I say a lot of females, I mean like compared to males, not compared to other females, because most females are actually kind of clued up, but the girls that are not kind of sure where they are, and they're kind of being put in these boxes, and they're told you're a victim, you're a victim, you're a victim. Yeah, it doesn't work out, man. You end up 45 and alone, and you wonder why you can't get a mate.
Yeah, no, I think that's another conversation its own, and women need to be honest with themselves. Actually, yeah, women need to be honest with themselves when it comes to that, in terms of going forward, because ultimately, but they're gonna say, "Hi, but who says we want kids?" There's gonna be that narrative.
Yeah,
exactly. That. But if you're honest, that's a conversation that we as women need to be honest about. But yeah, story for the other day.
And I think those conversations that it's like they always say men oppress women, but I don't think that there's been more women oppressed by men than there actually has ever been by other women.
Yep.
A woman oppress women all the time, every single day.
Yeah.
Your mom does it. Your dad does it. Like, every single time.
Yeah.
Like things like that that'll scar you all the time. And then you'll go out there and you'll say men are trash. It's like, Mama, are you gonna just not talk about that?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Anyhow,
Alright.
thanks for the platform.
Excellency, ninamtaka kangibawe kama kunete vipi la talk. Ngani kuishile.
Ekuyakunete kapha namhlanje kakumoya mfethu. Wemdinile naqona mandlale man.
Excel last week bekutalk debikhala phandle.
Is it?
Man, bengekho dog apha mfethu, but ibiyi-TV ibidlala apha mfethu, but khangandiyiqini yabo.
Ekhomphothayo?
Bekutalk, bekukhomphotha la dog.
Because benibukele ezinye ii-wolves what.
Yeah, whether.
Xa nina ndiyanazi nifuna ukuva le nto nifuna uyiva.
Hayi, ndimamele nje qha. Ndimamele.
I know. So continue tomorrow, guys.
All right.
Sharp.
Okay, no cause stress.
Sharp boys.
Bye.
Awe.